Welcome to Nope-ology, where saying no is our favorite superpower. Join us as we dive into the art of ditching the distractions, embracing your true self with no apologies needed. Whether it's relationships, responsibilities, or just that energy-sucking friend, we've got tips and laughs to help you reclaim your time and sparkle. Dust off that crown, girl. So, grab your favorite drink, kick back, and let's get unapologetically you. Welcome to Nope-ology with Christy and Roro. We are here today, and today's episode is Family First, Not Always, a Nope to Harmful Connections. So we're just doing kind of a quick intro this episode because we've got a lot to dive in. So we're almost going to make it like a little series of these because we get a lot of questions and comments about family-related stuff. So, well, first of all, Roro, how was your week? Anything to share? How you feeling? What's going on your way?
No, I mean nothing too earth-shattering, just like getting swallowed up in the work stuff. And I don't think I've mentioned this on here, but I have been doing strength training for the last few months
Yes,
and
Shira.
oh my God, that has to stick. That needs to be my new name. So, and it's been good, but I will say last few weeks I kind of like ran into like some unexpected challenges in that I didn't realize we were increasing weights every single week. So
Oh,
I had
buffing
a
it up.
moment of panic, like, can I do this? And then last week it was a breakthrough. So
Oh,
Shira broke through.
good. Shira, you are looking strong, strong like a bull. I love
Yes.
it.
Yes, mate. What
Yes.
about you?
We actually had a stomach bug run through the house. That is always exciting. That's why Roro is over there, not in my house. We're playing it safe. I was like, maybe you shouldn't just in case, because it was not fun. So I was sick for almost a full week. And my daughter is preparing for musical auditions. And I feel like it's part the school, it's like an intense program, and part I'm like a closet, not so closet stage mom that literally has like a resume for my 10-year-old. So that's been fun preparing. I think I'm performing maybe, like I'm practicing with her and like, wait, put those jazz hands in, girl. So it's been a mixed week of sickness and dancing and singing. So that's
One of
about
the
it over
best
here.
one of the best children's resumes I've ever seen on planet Earth. It's speaking as a recruiter,
She's
so
she's done, you are
that
a
was
recruiter, that's
that was
true.
on a
So you
different
know.
level.
She's done a lot in her 10 years of singing, dancing. She's in a band. I haven't really talked about her much, but she dances, sings, acts, all the fun, and it's always eventful here. But speaking of family, I wanted to just have this intro episode because me and Ron, you were talking about different ways to set boundaries, and I was like, you know what? Maybe it'd be good to just kind of for me, and we're gonna have different perspectives here. First, I'm gonna be talking about giving permission to have boundaries with your family and more. I'm kind of wanging it, as we call it, wangy wang over here. Um, but I'm so passionate about this. Rania knows that about giving yourself permission and not feeling guilty because that can be so detrimental. And it's why a lot of people don't set boundaries or take stuff because it's blood. Have you ever heard that? Like blood is thicker than water. Oh, but they're your dad, they're your sister, they're your aunt, just that you just deal with it because they're family. I am of the idea that that's not true. Just because it's blood doesn't mean it's okay. Just because it's blood doesn't mean people should treat you like doo-doo dang dang. I don't know what that is,
Mm,
but it's worse than doo-doo. Okay.
no, ma'am. No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am. No. And Rania and I have both, we've been friends for a long time. We've talked about a lot of family stuff together, and we have a lot of similarities in our family, and we've dealt with things differently sometimes. So I think it's good to get different perspectives, as always. Um, I definitely am tougher and less tolerant than a lot of people. I think I've developed it, but I try to find that balance, and I'll talk about that where I'm not nasty about it, but I'm just firm. I've gotten to the point I'm not going to be nasty. I'm not going to like yell back if someone is.
nasty to me. I will be firm and in a perfect world, um, end the conversation or remove myself. And in my family, I'm not going to go into great detail here. Rania knows all the deets, all the dirty deets, but there is a family member that I have disconnected to completely. It's devastating. It was very devastating, obviously, when it happened. Has it gotten easier? In ways, but it's something that really is hard. So I don't want anyone here thinking it's something easy to do. However, to me, it was easier than putting up with the lack of a better term, toxicity. The abuse, whatever. People, when you say abuse, they get like, oh, eye roll, like it's overused word. But to me, I don't care what we call it. It was a behavior I won't accept and no one
A
should
nope.
accept.
It was a big fat nope for you.
What was that, Roro? What was it?
Big fat nope for you.
Big, yes, it was a big fat nopey dope. And there was years of it, and I no longer tolerated it.
Yeah.
And so I want you to understand that I grew up in an Italian family.
Mm.
Our motto literally was La Familia Prima, which I learned that means family first. I learned when I went to Italy, actually on my honeymoon, that it's actually La Prima Familia. That's what the real Italian there said. My grandfather, he claimed to be very Italian, but I don't know. He had it backwards. But family first was like the motto, right? So I grew up like you don't even have conflict. Like you fight and sweep it on the rug, move on and forget it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Anything other than that
never
is blasphemy, right?
Yeah, you would never disconnect. If my
Mhm.
my God, I know my grandfather was in his grave rolling, trying to probably crawl out of there to shake me when I disconnected a family member, because that's just unheard of in my family. Um, so I want you guys to understand, I do get it. I've been there. It was hard, but what was much harder for me was not having peace and literally my mental and there was physical health involved that got damaged. But any type of, if you're really struggling mentally because of a person, that's not okay. So of course, and we'll talk about these like methods of talking to someone, being honest with them, having conversations. We'll get to all that. But today I just really want to reiterate here how important it is to give yourself permission and really look at it. Just because it's family doesn't mean it's okay.
Yeah.
And it may be hard. People may look, I had people that weren't very happy with me for disconnecting. And
Mhm.
we made it out okay. I'm not saying it was easy. There were some very hard times.
Mm.
Sometimes there's still some hard times. That was the unexpected part for me. So give yourself permission and also expect it's not going to be easy. But if you're at that point of the extreme of having to disconnect, which is not the first thing you do,
Yeah.
but if it takes, you get to that point, know that it's okay. So it's okay, obviously, to set boundaries, and that's easier, and having talks, all of that, giving yourself permission to do that. But even if it ends up at the place where I am, which nobody wants, who wants that, right?
Yes.
It's not like I was like, oh, this is easy, it's fun, whatever. I'm a cold-hearted bitch,
No,
right?
it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
So cartwheels and
It's the
disconnection, that could be the
best.
title.
Somersaults.
Yes, winning. So I get passionate about that part because, and I get real like serious because I want everyone to know you deserve to live
Mm.
in peace, even with your family. There's no exception. There is no
Yeah.
freaking exception just because you happen to come from the same lineage. That, I'm sorry. To me, uh, no, I'll give everybody the same grace. If you're in my family, we have history, great. You treat me like shit, it's not happening.
I'm so glad you're liberating people with this message because it's like you're saying the quiet part out loud. It's like in so many families that it's similar to yours. Like it's this stuff is unheard of. It's not allowed. You're like
Mm-hmm.
it's the worst offense. But just to piggyback off of what you said, I mean, there may be a viewpoint, a way to look at this that might help folks that might be struggling with the guilt, you know? So
Yeah.
like, let's just say for an example, if you got word, like you got a call from the department of whatever and found out like there were these toxic fumes permeating into your
Mm.
home, okay, destroying your lung function, damaging your children's growth and well-being, what would you do in that moment? What would you do?
I
And
love that.
I feel like there are like, you know, when there is something that is affecting our health on a physical level, well, then we give all types of allowance for that and measures for that. But, you know, the emotional, mental toxicity and abuse, that's invisible to us. So it's like not so accepted or widely accepted in our society to say, okay, well, then we take these measures. And that's part of what
Yeah.
Christy and I want to bring to the forefront here. It's like, no, that's equally important to any sort of health measure that we would ever take. So I think it's really important to give ourselves that permission, Christy. And I know it took a lot for you to break through on the other side of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
kudos to
I
you for
love
that.
that. And I like that because I think analogies really do help people see it from an outside perspective. So I'm glad you did the fumey nastiness because really, if you were in your house and that's happening, what would you do? And here's
Yeah.
another question. What would you do if you knew your daughter or your best friend was dealing with what you're dealing with? Sometimes that can help kind of you go, oh, yeah, I would tell
Ooh,
them to not tolerate that, right?
that's a good one.
So that's another way also to look at it.
Yeah, you can look
Um,
at it more objectively that way, right? Where it's like that
yeah,
protective part of you would want to swoop in and help them through that. Well, do that for yourself. That's such a good point.
yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, there are some people that don't even help their kids or whatever. They just tolerate shit and tell their kids to tolerate it. If you're that person, stop your shit.
Yeah,
Okay, the end.
immediately.
Yeah.
On that
So
note,
that kind of, I think that rounds it up just for, like, I want to take your guilt away. If you have guilt where you're in a situation or you're thinking about, um, not even removing yourself totally, but just having hard conversations, just give yourself permission. Like, and we're here if you need support, if you want to write to us, like on Facebook or text your besties on the podcast, you can do that.
oh yeah,
Right in the description, you can click a little link and text, like us a little message and we can talk about it
but
on air because we're a radio show. Um, but yeah, but I think it's so important. There are support groups for like situations and families going through this stuff, but please don't stay in a place where you're being damaged. And like Rania said, it doesn't have to be physical. I've had clients that say, well, it's not abuse. I'm not getting beaten. I'm like, no, honey, it doesn't have to be physical,
yeah,
right?
yeah. The
Yeah.
mental, emotional abuse. I mean, I'm hoping one day, you know, we'll be able to turn the tide with that because that's equally as important
Yeah.
as any other measure of health in your life, you know? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's super important. And then I guess another perspective to this, guys, that I just wanted to share is, you know, so here's the thing. When we're beefing with anyone, it's like the guard goes up and understandably so, right? Everyone's just on high alert. And I want to preface sort of my this concept with saying this doesn't apply to extreme situations. If someone's getting beaten, if someone's, you know, in harm's way, even whether it's physical, mental, emotional,
Yes, you
you
can
do
get
have to
emotionally beaten.
you do exactly. You do have to take more drastic measures. I'm talking more of like the innocuous stuff, like the harmless stuff where it's like, you know, me and my sister, it's like we just never see eye to eye. And you just kind of bump into each other and you're like running over each other and it's aggravation. And it's like, well, how do you navigate that? Because there's a lot of that going on too. And I think that when we are just like pissing each other off and getting under each other's skin, it's really easy to make sweeping judgments about this other person, and it's very hard to see any good, if very little, if you're even able to see them with a positive lens anymore, because
Mm,
all the beef, it erodes. Well, first of all, it erodes trust, right? So you're looking at them sideways, you're kind of ready and on high alert. And when you're drawing boundaries, there has to be some of that.
yes.
Maybe not everyone is for you. Maybe someone's jealous of you, right? Maybe there's toxicity there. Like there are certain things you have to look out for. My message is kind of like in so doing, like while you're doing all of that, there may also be room to cultivate some compassion into the situation. And what do I mean by that? I can speak
What
from
do you
experience.
mean?
What do I mean? Do you want to know? Who else wants to know? Yeah. So, and this is me speaking from personal experience. I found that in a relationship that was somewhat strained within my family, I was looking at this person with just nothing but a negative lens. Like I didn't have anything positive to say.
Mm,
And generally speaking, I do. And again, like extreme situations aside, violent, harmful situations aside, um, I think that there's some good in everyone. Why is it important to cultivate compassion? Well, because then at that point you can kind of connect with the love that's in your heart for that person, and instead of
mm-hmm.
only being driven by this defensive posture, which I'm not saying to forsake completely. I'm just saying while you're guarding and kind of keeping an eye out and making sure that your boundaries are strong and clear, you can also introduce this idea of like, well, maybe this person has had a completely different experience than I have had, like let's say it's
Yes.
a sibling, for example. For so many years, I used to have like a really narrow mindset about this to say, well, we grew up in the same home, we have the same parents, like we share 50% of the genes. Why is this person this way?
Yeah.
And why am I this way? And it's like, it got really judgy, like
Yeah.
for really quickly for a long, and I just think that that's a road that we can kind of look out for and make sure that we're zooming out a little bit and bringing in a little bit more perspective. No, you know what? I've come to find out, like I had to check myself and realize like, oh wait, that's not actually the case. We may have grew up in the same household, but we've had completely different experiences, okay?
Totally. Yeah.
And this other person has a completely different makeup than I do, and feels differently. I mean, like it's a different
Yeah.
being. So
Chemically totally different as well. Yeah.
exactly. So making this over sweeping sort of overgeneralization and drawing this conclusion of like XYZ, 2 + 2 = whatever, and therefore, and just applying this sort of cookie cutter viewpoint or mindset on someone, imposing that on someone else.
Shoulding. It's like we talk about not shoulding, and then we are sitting there shoulding someone
Yeah.
else. Yeah.
And I think that the danger in making judgments, especially towards people that we should, look for, we should also look for ways to make peace when possible. When you start to cultivate that compassion, like for me, I started looking at things through this other person's lens. I began to do that, and it starts to soften your heart a little bit. And it's not to say that the pendulum should swing all the way to the other side and we go to this other extreme of like operate, well, and I feel sorry for this person, so like let me drop my boundaries. No, that
Hell
ain't
no.
it.
That's a
Been
nope.
there. Been there. In fact,
Yeah.
that's also a pitfall. Let's not go to the other extreme where it's like,
Right. You
oh,
can do both things. I think that's important. A therapist once said to me, like, you can have two things living in the same part at once, right?
so true.
So,
And it's a fine balance. And it's a matter of discovering that balance and finding that sweet spot of, I am gonna keep my boundaries up. I'm gonna make sure that this situation isn't running me or my life. And I'm
yes.
only going to respond. I'm not going to react, but I am going to respond in ways that are healthy and that are in alignment with my needs, my wants, my desires, and my capacity, and balancing that out with, what, maybe this person isn't the devil, and maybe,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
it's almost like understanding without allowing. poor behavior.
Yeah, and also
Like there's a little understanding of where they might be even like jaded, or if, like if they were alive longer, let's say it's a sibling and they saw something, let's say the parents got divorced while they were alive, but then there were, I don't know, different situations where they might have gone through something traumatic. You're like, well, that hurt them and changed them in a way that it didn't me.
yep.
However, let's still not allow them to then turn that pain into,
Yeah.
poor behavior to me.
And that's an important point. We're not giving anyone a license to mistreat us.
Yeah.
But there may, depending on the relationship and depending on the history, there may be opportunity to allow love to still drive
Mm-hmm.
some of your decisions, right? Because we can become so hardened, we can quickly see someone as a complete enemy just because they're annoying, or just because, like they're getting under our skin, or they're doing or behaving in ways that are unsavory to us. Let's remember that there is love at the heart of this. And if it's, not a harmful relationship, then,
Yeah, I think that's the
let's,
important part to keep
yes,
in mind. Yeah.
yes, then maybe there are cases that we can allow love to sort of like continue to be our compass, even though we're drawing those boundaries and we're, finding that balance. So
Yeah. So it depends where on the scale, I guess,
yes,
the
it really
the
does.
behaviors. Is it just an annoying quirk that someone has, or is it a pattern of someone really saying or doing damaging
Yeah.
things, right?
Guys, we just thought this was like a timely topic, right? Because we deal with family stuff all year round, but right now, like I feel like we're all really in the thick of it. I mean, we just got
Mhm.
through with Thanksgiving. We're gearing up for Christmas holidays.
Yeah.
The
We had the
political scenes.
election, and
Yeah,
yeah, everything going on January 20th is creeping up right behind Christmas. And that
and New
can,
Year's.
it can be a
Yep.
point of contention. And I know many families that butt heads over politics in the last several years, obviously. And yeah, I mean, that is a tricky subject. And I know a lot of us feel very passionate.
Yep.
And I try to look at what is someone's whole character, Um, so diving into that rather than that's through, through the love lens, right? Like
Yep.
I've had people in my family, I'm like, oh, I can't believe they voted for that person or whatever. Like it blows my mind, but they, you know, live in a different state, had a totally different life experience. So I'm trying more and more to do what Rania said, because I feel like it comes more natural for her to do that, where I was raised in a very judgmental family. So growing up,
Yeah.
I've had to undo that and, still working on it.
And as Christy's saying too, I mean, I just think that like an integral piece of this is really like fully assessing what situation is in front of you. Like, what am I really dealing with here?
Mhm.
And then, taking the proper measures, based on what reality is. Because sometimes the rose-colored glasses, as
Oh,
a
yeah.
the rose-colored glasses recovery person, resident person here, or whatever you might want to
Who's
call
that?
that. I just can't stress enough that in and of itself can be a pitfall if you're not finding a balance, if you're not finding a
Yeah.
balance. And if
Yeah.
you're not applying these principles in the right situations. So it's very nuanced. And I think there's caveats to, each of these sort of concepts. But hopefully you guys, as you're listening, something like rings true, something is resonating, it's something that you can take and apply.
Yeah.
So
And I think this is a good series, this family kind of related stuff. I don't know, just it feels like a lot of people go through this stuff. So if it is resonating, you can message us on the Facebook group, which we always have like the link in the description of the podcast, or
yeah.
email us at FierceMamaC, FierceMamaC at Gmail. So then we can address if you have specific questions like, well, how do I deal like this? We might either respond, or if it's something that's prevalent enough, we could make a whole episode out of it, or partial episode,
Yeah,
a mini
we
episode even. So I think that could be a fun thing to start doing. So Roro and I will throw that idea around about maybe taking more questions, because I think that could be really helpful. If
Yeah,
you
we
guys
want to.
really give us feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to know, like, what are your pain points right now? Like what is current, like what is the current situation? Because
Mm-hmm.
we all have those, right? And
We sure
like
do.
let's figure it out together, let's navigate this thing. You are
Together
not alone.
forever, stay in my heart.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, like a
That
songbird over here.
that's exactly what I meant too.
Yes.
So,
So yeah, definitely join our Facebook group. That's where the magic's going to happen. We will be doing lives, and we have polls and just different posts for you over there. And then if you want as well, you can do the fun work we're going to assign today, which
yeah,
is
drum roll
take
please.
one of these tips, one of these tips. I mean, either giving yourself permission or finding love, and put it into action this week. Give yourself permission, maybe have a talk with yourself in the mirror saying it's okay for you to have this conversation. Or if you are kind of distancing from someone, giving yourself permission, be like, Christy and Roro said it's okay. They said it's
And
okay.
that's a good
Write
challenge.
yourself a letter. Or if it's something like with Rania, I could definitely work on this stuff more, right? Like having more compassion, seeing through the love lens. Again, not taking bullshit, but finding that balance. And if you have trouble finding that
Yes.
balance, write to us. Ranya's really good at that. So, but do that. And then, of course, we will put a post in the Facebook page where you can write how that's going, right? If you
Yeah.
choose to do that this week. So we can all connect there
Yeah,
about it.
update us, let us know. And by the way, side note, I highly recommend the mirror chats. Like when there's something about
Yes.
looking in the mirror and looking at your own eyeballs and assessing a situation, only honesty will come out of that. Like that's how you get like a true assessment of any situation, how you're feeling about it, what you're really dealing with. Like I know it
Yeah.
sounds nuts, but go look at your eyeballs and chat with your eyeballs.
Chat with
And
your eyeballs. That's the quote of the day. Chat
that's
with
the
your eyeballs.
biggest takeaway from the
Yeah.
discussion.
And honestly, sometimes we don't, I've grown up with some toxic stuff. I didn't have anyone telling me it was okay. When I disconnected, nobody really, I mean, there wasn't, in my family, especially and whatever, but sometimes you have to be your biggest advocate. And like looking in the mirror, I could see that. I didn't do that at the time, but I wish I had like looked in the mirror and been like, girl, it's you and you, right? Like
Hmm.
we are born and die together. This is
Wow.
you. So everyone else is like, it's from their lens. They don't get it. They won't get it. They have different upbringing. They're in a different dynamic with that person. They'll never understand you, and we'll
Mhm.
never fully understand other people. So at the end of the day, it's you. So you
And
have to be okay with what your choices, right? Not them. So
that is
look at yourself,
so
say, I'm giving myself permission because I know me best and I know I can't do this anymore. And that's okay. It's hard. I'm not
standing in
gonna
your
lie.
truth. That's such a powerful truth that you're pointing out. Being your own freaking hero. Like standing in your
Oh,
truth
I feel music coming.
in solidarity with you. Because guess what? Christy knows probably better than most that when you take this stand, you might not always get applause. In fact, be prepared in
No.
some cases, you might get some full on opposition. And that's part of the reason
Yes.
why, we offer support to anyone who's going through these
We
types of
will clap for
situations.
you.
Yes, we'll stand, we'll cheer, we'll hold
We'll
your
hug
hand,
you.
we'll add a girl, we'll add a boy. I mean, all kinds of air hugs. And Shira over here, I mean, I will cradle you
I'll
in
buy
every
you a
way.
donut. No lie. That's the
But
biggest thing you can ever get from me because I'm so greedy with donuts. But if you come to a place where you've disconnected, write me, say I deserve my donut. I will give you a Dunkin' Donuts gift certificate.
donuts galore. And guys, like, we need to be here for each other. So, I mean, that's really like the purpose of this entire, podcast. We've been lifing, we've been going through this life for a minute, and we understand. We get it. Like, you're not alone. You're not alone.
Mm-mm.
So
And
lean on us,
yeah,
please. Lean
that's
on me.
important. When you're not strong, I'll be
Yeah.
your friend. No, you
So
are
we're
strong. You're a strong queen or king. And you just chin up and talk to yourself in the
we
mirror.
got this.
Have compassion for others, but have the most compassion for your damn self. Okay.
First and foremost, okay? So, yeah, and speaking of friends, we would be remiss, remiss or amiss, I never remember the word, but
Remiss. I believe it's remiss.
yes, we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge our original friend who brought this friendship together. So,
Yes. Thanks,
Cheap.
cheap.
so lean on us. We're around. Questions come up, struggles. When the struggle is real, reach out. We will be here and let
Yeah.
us
And
know.
when
Let us
in
know how
doubt,
those-
say nope.
Absolutely nope. The nopitude of it all. Bring it.
Yes. Put your deuces up. There they are. We all got our deuces up to you. I hope so. Peace bubble
Peace,
out.
love, and nopes.
Bye.
Don't forget, if you are looking for a little healing in your life, Christy, that's me, does somatic healing sessions, which are epic. They are over Zoom. You can live anywhere in the world and do them. So I will always have my link in the description box to sign up for a session. And anything we mention, any resources we mention, all of the fun will always be in the description box of wherever you are listening to your podcast platform. We are so grateful for your support. And if you can put a 5-star review, if you are liking what you hear, we would be forever grateful. And that can be done on Apple. You just scroll all the way to the bottom of our main page of the show and click the 5 stars. You can write a little comment if you choose, and we will be so, so grateful. We'll give you the biggest air hugs ever. And if we see you in person, it'll be a tighter squeeze. You'll feel that one. All right. Hope you guys are having the best day. Don't forget, you're a damn queen and king, and keep that chin up.